Or hitting go live?
Yeah.
Oh, now it hit live.
Yeah.
It didn't say live on it.
Yeah!
Missed it.
Lonzo's pumped for a Friday. Yeah.
I was distracted. I tried to hit it, but that's not a good sign for the rest of the day.
I mean, I'm not saying he jumped the gun, but that was great.
You know, my age.
Yeah!
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in to a slightly overcast and damp Friday morning across the upstate of South Carolina.
Moist. It's a moist
It's
day.
a moist day.
Let me say it. It's a moist day. So for all you people who creep out of the pronunciation of a word.
There's a surprising number of people.
Yes, I agree.
Surprising number of people who are put off by the word moist.
I know someone who had a problem with the word bulb,
Bulb?
as in light bulb.
That moist, I get. It's a weird word. And it has connotations of things that can be considered off-putting, I suppose.
Probably not when the word first came out. I'm guessing, just because someone stole the meaning of a word and made it mean something else. Originally, it probably wasn't that big of a deal. I don't think it has to do with the meaning or connotations. I think the people just don't like how the word sounds.
No, I agree. I think it's got to have something to do with it. Man, I guess I would think that it does. But moist is the one word that if you say it, if there's more than 5 people in the room, somebody is going to go, ugh, I don't like that word. I don't like that word.
But do they not like it because it's popular to not like it? Or do they really feel uncomfortable when they hear the word?
I can't, like you and I have gone back and forth and butted heads because I have accused you and you have accused me many times. I have said many times, I very much believe there are things that Lonzo doesn't like just because everybody else does. And Lonzo has said about me many times that he thinks there are things I do not like because lots of other people also don't like that thing. Now, I would point out that I am the number one promoter of Limp Bizkit and Creed in the upstate, so I don't think that holds true.
All right, so the both of those, maybe in Florida it's a thing, but here, if you talk,
both of those bands are from North Florida.
Well, if you talk to the people down the hall, they will tell you there's still 2 of the most popular bands, and that Creed is still requested quite a bit on the station where you can request it. So maybe it's just because where you're from, they played out or something. I don't know. Admit, I have all Creed's albums. I think Alter Bridge is better, but I love Creed.
Got it to another world, time and time again.
All right. We got a lot to get to on the show today.
He forgot where he was going because he started singing Creed and he went to that
At
place.
sunrise, I fight to stay asleep, because I don't want to leave the comfort of this place.
You know what? Every once in a while,
there's a hunger, a longing to escape from the life I live when I'm everybody. Way, yeah.
Do you guys hear Macho Man trying to do Creed?
So let's go there.
Because that's what I hear.
Let's make our escape. Yeah.
All right. I regret all of that. The Rob Brown Show, going to be a busy one today. On the radio broadcast, we got a lot to get into on the show. We got to get into a little baseball. The Braves get Max Fried back tonight. That's the good news. The bad news for the ATL is that they're on the road. They're up in the friendly confines of Wrigley tonight, taking on a Chicago Cubs team that has suddenly figured out, hey, maybe we don't suck. They became the 3rd team in the modern era of Major League Baseball to put up 35 or more runs in a 2-game stretch earlier this week. They got another dub over the Reds last night. That is now, I believe, 4 in a row for Chicago, and 4 in a row with a run differential of like plus 39. It's ridiculous. So the Braves, on one hand, could not get Max Fried back at a better time. On the other hand, had better hope that Max Fried is the best possible version of Max Fried when he shows up tonight, or else the Cubbies could get one over on the Braves and knock that MLB best record lead down by 1. We'll come to that later on in the broadcast. We've also got to talk Team USA women's soccer, because Sunday morning at the butt crack of dawn, 5 a.m., your boy and countless other patriotic flag-loving Americans are going to be sitting down in front of a television to watch Team USA women's football. And I can't wait. I can't wait. So can the Americans get it done against the Swedish?
So on your one day
off,
off,
trouble.
Your one day off, you're going to get up at 5 a.m. to watch a loss.
Well, first off, Lonzo, good to know that you have no faith, hope, and love in your country.
You have told me how bad this team is, so I'm just going with you. You've downplayed the coaching, and we've heard Carly Lloyd talk about the lack of effort. I mean, so everything you have said makes me believe that they're going to lose. So you're the Uber fan. You're wearing the kit today. I mean, you're doing all this stuff, which you can see on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or X. I'm just listening to you. That's all. You're not poor mouthing, are you? I mean, you believe what you say, so I'm concerned they're not going to win.
When the chefs have a bad Sunday, do you not tune in the next week? Do you go, oh, we were bad, we're done? No.
First of all, I wouldn't be disrespectful and say that they
ever had a bad week.
Ever had a bad week. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
see. Here's the thing, though. If they have a bad week in the playoffs, they're done. If they have a bad week in the regular season, they'll be back next week.
In which case, they won't be playing, and you can call it a day. This team has made the playoffs. So, and at the end of the day, any hope is hope.
So so how, if they lose, are they out?
Yes.
Okay.
We are in the knockout round. Any L from this point forward is the end of the line in the Women's World Cup.
So when you talk about them later, you're going to talk about how they're going to win, right? You're going to give me a reason to get up at 5 a.m., or you're going to talk about the poor coaching, the lack of motivation. You're going to give us all a reason to get up and root for the country.
Yes. Sarcasm, senor. I sure am going to do that. I'm glad that you see where we're going. We'll come to that later in the show.
Try to set you up, be the guy, and then you just throw it back at me. It's hurtful. It's Friday, you know that. You could be nicer on Friday.
I am nice. I'm a nice guy. Huh? So we'll talk about one.
Yes, Trey, he is using horse mane and tail. That really does work.
It's looking good, right? Told the fiance and the madre I'm not cutting the hair until I get married, which is September of next year. They don't love it.
It's just hair, man. I mean,
And I think they're just jealous. Look at it. It's real good.
It's
real good.
It's a nice head of hair, and it's getting comments, good comments on the stream right now.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
Stop disrespecting the hair. Let's go with all of that. We have spent quite a bit of time talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars, talking about Trevor, TL16. Doug Peterson had a message about a name that we actually have not spent much time mentioning yet. Travis Etienne. We need to talk about Senior Etienne because Dougie Fresh said he could see Travis Etienne, Lonzo, having an all-purpose 1,600-yard season.
Yeehaw!
He sees this kid averaging just a tick below a hundo all-purpose a game.
But why does that matter? Because, running backs have been devalued and A team wouldn't care if a running back did, really well.
It matters for him because he's still on his rookie contract. Even running backs, when they perform on a rookie contract, get some fat stacks after it's over, and they move up to their first big boy contract. Even if that is the only big boy contract they get, they still get it. And Travis has a chance to show that he is worth that. And by the way,
if he stays healthy, the thing is,
exactly,
as far as the transition from college to the NFL, I thought he had a better shot of being successful than Trevor Lawrence does, because I thought his game translated better. Trevor Lawrence is starting to hit where some people thought he might. We'll see. But Etienne started out hot and then he got hurt.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we'll see what Doug Peterson had to say about Travis Etienne later on in the show.
And don't say I just slammed the Clemson guy, because I praised the Clemson guy.
He did. I've heard him do it. I think Zoe lets you off the hook once you get to the show. Right? Once you get to the league, it's off the hook. Zoe's like me. Once a player gets to the league, I don't really care where they went to college anymore.
Listen, I had to root for Elvis Gerback. I will always throw it back to that. Who played at Michigan when he was the quarterback for the Chiefs. Thank goodness it wasn't for very long, but he was there and I had to root for him.
Elvis Gerback. That's a quarterback name, dude. Nah, that's fullback name. Gerback is a fullback name.
Yeah, you throw Elvis in there, though, it gets confusing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. 3 yards and a cloud of dust. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. All right. We've also got to get, and this might shock you, because I feel, Lonzo, like we haven't really brought this topic up all that much this week. I feel like this topic has kind of been on the back burner all week long. But conference expansion in the world of college football, I really feel like we haven't really hit on this topic enough. You know what I mean? I feel like we have been slow on the draw in talking about college football conference expansion.
Rob,
we need more of it.
Did you know that there was an NFL game last night? Did you know that we actually have a professional wrestler from AEW on today? Did you know we have tickets to give away? Did you know that
Did you know I have another 2 minutes and 30 seconds to fill before we go to a break?
No, you can go to break whenever you want. I'm just saying, you're the host, but I think I've heard the conference expansion thing before.
Well, you have, but now there's more. There's more stuff to talk about, because one of the 3 possible reasons that I told you FSU was probably pushing out the we might leave discussion has fallen out from underneath them. And we are going to tell you about that later on in the show as well. Because one other ACC school has now fired back at Florida State University for their comments.
It's not the ACC school, is it?
No.
So, okay. All right.
But it is one of the 4 that we consider important in the ACC's continued
Who's this
relevance or
we?
not.
Who's this we?
Me.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And everybody in my little group, conspiracy theorist. So we'll come to that later in the show. The NFL Hall of Fame game last night took place. Zoe, how much of that did you watch? Honestly.
And when
I say watch, I don't mean like it was on the TV and I was playing video games. I was talking to Miss Lisa. I was eating dinner. I mean, you were watching it.
I recorded it, so I watched the first half, skipping past the in-between stuff because I don't care about the fluff. I'm there to watch the football. And then there's this thing where it's raining and we have really tall trees, and usually we don't have this problem with Dish. But I think the high winds have knocked our dish off just a little bit. So I lost the channel for a little bit. Then it came back on and I was able to watch like the last half of the fourth quarter. So it wasn't for lack of trying. I tried to watch the rest of it. But I watched the entire first half for sure.
I don't know if I'm a bad football fan. It was just on at my house. Nah, first half I watched.
Dude, on? You mean like Kellen Mond? Man, he was on.
Kellen Mond.
Zach didn't look too bad until third down, but on third down he struggled a little bit.
Relax. Zach looked like a guy you keep on the roster.
That was a very good long pass. The receiver had to.
He did have a couple of good
receiver
throws.
had to stop a little
Yep.
bit to wait for it. But yeah,
He had a couple of okay to good throws. It got to be halftime. I watched the first half. It got to be halftime. The lady friend fell asleep on the couch during this game. So I went into the back into the bro cave, and I put it on the big TV, and then I put Reds Cubbies and Dodgers Athletics on the other two laptops, and I was more invested in the Dodgers A's game than I was in the fourth quarter of that game, which is the only reason I bring this up is I am the dude that is always like, stop complaining about preseason football. If you don't like it, don't watch it. But it's not supposed to be great football. It's more for the coaches than it is for the fans. They're just letting us get in.
Well, in your defense, and I feel like I defend you more than I come at you, even though some people, like maybe you, think that I come at you way too much. You also have a nationally syndicated baseball show on the weekend.
I sure do.
Which is like tomorrow. So watching baseball is kind of your job. And preseason football is just for cuts. Really, that's all
it really is. It honestly is. It is for the coaches. It is to see who's making the roster, who's not making the roster, and what they need to work on to do it. That being said, it did feel good to have football on TV, even if it was bad preseason football.
To remind myself how much I sometimes like, but mostly don't, Chris Collinsworth. So, yes.
He was full Chris Collinsworth, too.
Yes, he was.
Now, here's a guy. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Oh, and by the way, coming up at 11 a.m., All Elite Wrestling megastar Chris Statlander is going to be on the show.
A much more interesting Chris.
Power ranking Chris's Statlander goes above Collinsworth. Is that what you're saying?
For sure, yes.
I respect that. Chris Statlander from All Elite Wrestling will join the show at 11 a.m. She will be live on the stream with us. So we'll talk to Chris Statlander coming up at 11. Looking forward to that. And I will tell you that we will be giving away 2 tickets to All Elite Wrestling Saturday Night Collision tomorrow night live at the Bon Score Wellness Arena. And we will be giving away 2 tickets in this hour of the show. So stick around for the next 43 because you never know where it's going to be. You get 2 tickets to see All Elite from Lonzo and Robbie B. Bars! We got to take a break. When we come back, let's go ahead and knock the college football expansion stuff out of the way. We know what Florida State has been saying this week. We know what the rumors have been about Florida State this week. And now another ACC school has chimed in, and that's not great for the Noles. We'll tell you what was said, who said it, why they said it, how they said it, when they said it, and all the other fun details that journalists cover when we come back. It's Rob, it's Lonzo, it's you, it's the Rob Brown Show, it's the Fan Upstate.
So look at what I just sent you. I doubt it's real, but it could be. And if it is, it's interesting.
I saw that, and from what I understand, it is real.
Okay. All right. I would like to see a more reputable or at least it confirmed by someone who
Yeah.
Yeah, it just
I am going to show you guys something on the stream here. And I'm going to do it without comments so that I'm not accused of being biased. Okay? Where'd it go? Oh, crap. Where'd it go? Hang on. Here it is. All right. This jersey is part of the University of Florida's all-black jersey effort this year. Now, when I saw this jersey, I thought that this had to be like a clearance rack at Ross, knockoff, second rate. Somebody made it just so that people without a lot of money could have
Got the
jersey.
Jumpman logo on it, man. You can't do that. You can't fake that.
Look, is it just me? Or is that a terrible black jersey? That's a bad black jersey.
I got to
right?
say, I could very easily see Mark Ryan rocking that.
That doesn't change my argument. That's a bad black jersey, right? That's just a bland, generic.
Is it because of the blue lettering? I mean, what?
It's because of
is that blue or is that purple?
It's blue.
Is
It's black with the blue Gators script across the top of the.
It's
the white
very,
triangle with the
very
orange and blue outline.
shiny. It's so shiny.
That is the official 2023 black jersey for the Gators this year. Dude, I'm sorry. That's just a bad jersey. Any team can pull off black in colors. Any team can rock it all black, and most teams pull it off. That's just a bad black jersey, dude. It just is.
I've seen worse, but I gotta say it's not. I'm sure like one person didn't come up with that. I'm guessing that they had a panel. And the panel agreed. The team's not going to be very good this year, so let's make the jersey look in such a way that people will complain about the jersey and they'll forget that the team probably not going to be that good.
It's just a bad jersey, man.
I've seen worse. Some of the throwback jerseys are pretty bad, especially in the NFL. Especially like Pittsburgh's throwback jersey, where they look like the Hamburglar.
Cause there's a hunger, a longing to escape from the life I live when I'm away, yeah. So let's go there. Anybody else want to sing some Creed with me?
You can be critical all you want of Creed, but I just remember Scott Stapp on a skyscraper singing that song like on New Year's Eve with his foot on the edge of the building, and that was rock and roll. I'm just saying that was rock and roll.
I'm telling you.
I think I saw they got back together again.
They're on a reunion cruise.
Is it a cruise?
I've never wanted to go on a cruise more.
Is that okay? Other than the Chris Jericho cruise, if it's a band cruise, it's like probably a bunch of old people there, which I assume what cruises are anyway, but I've never been on one. So imagine if you were on the Creed cruise during COVID and you were stuck out in the water with Creed.
There's worse bands.
There are worse
to
bands.
Be stuck at sea.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Rob Alonso with you. Good to have you. Coming up at the end of the segment, I got a pair of tickets. We've got a pair of tickets to All Elite Wrestling's Saturday Night Collision coming up this Saturday at the Bon Score Wellness Arena. That's tomorrow.
I'm say you can say then you can come around here and you can.
I don't want to
do the part that I
don't want to.
Yeah, I don't really like.
I like to do the part where I say, "Hey, I have free tickets. Call Lonzo," and then I leave the room. That's my favorite part. All right, let's get some college football conference expansion talk in here because there were a few different stories that broke overnight. This week has just been absolutely hammering the conference expansion talk. We haven't had a choice, right? Because it's one thing in peak off season for there to be speculation, right? It's one thing in peak off season when people are struggling because they don't know how to talk about any sports other than the one, to start making up stuff that's happening for the sake of creating, generating, driving conversation. This stuff feels wildly importante. This stuff feels like it's a big deal. This stuff feels like it is stuff that is putting us in the direction of the landscape of college football changing forever. And I'm intrigued by it. Let us start with Florida State. FSU has kind of been the driving factor of everything that has happened so far this week. On Tuesday, the director of the Board of Trustees in Tallahassee, Florida, said that the grant of rights agreement signed by the Atlantic Coast Conference would not be the document that decided whether the Noles should stay or go now. They said it would be another document that would do that. My assumption was that it would be an offer sheet from another conference that made them decide to pull the trigger or not on a move. Then I said yesterday, I think that while Florida State likely considers moving as a genuine option, I also think to some degree that there's a hypothetical out there. Actually, I had 3 hypotheticals out there. Hypothetical number 1, Florida State floated this concept, started putting stuff out in the media, not because they're on the phone, but they wanted to see if it would kick the ACC's rear end into gear, right? The ACC has a media rights agreement that lasts until 2036. As we have pointed out, Rob Brown will be 51 years old when that media rights agreement expires. And Lonzo is going to be, what was it, 65?
I will be eating pudding somewhere.
Yeah. Lonzo will need his food coming out of a shredder at that point.
Hopefully they make Depends with like superheroes on them.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
So my thought was maybe this is just a way to get the ACC to kick it into gear, right? Y'all need to figure out how to talk ESPN into giving us a new deal. Because if you don't, we're out. Now, there's a second hypothetical that ties with that one, which is there's 2 ways for Florida State to get out of the ACC. The first way for Florida State to get out of the ACC is to pay the early exit penalty, which is going to be in the tens on tens of millions of dollars, likely upwards of $100 million. It's a lot of money out of pocket for a school. I don't care how big your school is or how good your booster base is. That is a lot of money to come out of pocket, and it is a lot of money to ask a new conference to fork over and also pay you your annual media rights fee every year. So the third hypothetical, which ties into that, is could Florida State put this out there and get the support of enough other schools that it threatens the Atlantic Coast Conference, right? Could they get Graham Neff and Clemson to come out and go, yeah, no, us too? Could they get Dan Radakovich down at Miami to go, oh, yeah, no, for sure, we're in there too? And could they get North Carolina? Their athletic director's name is Bubba Cunningham.
Bubba.
Hell yeah, Bubba. So anyway, old Bubba was on 99.9 The Fan in Raleigh, North Carolina. Do they talk like that in Raleigh, North Carolina?
Yeehaw!
Yeah.
I'm sure they talk.
That was the first actual fitting yeehaw you've used.
Have you never seen Andy Griffith?
Was that North Carolina? I don't know.
Mayberry was near Raleigh.
Was it?
Yeah.
Where was Mayberry? Yeah, how about that? I literally did not know that. The quaint North Carolina town of Mount Airy was Andy Griffith's childhood home and the inspiration for Mayberry in the beloved 1960s sitcom The Andy Griffith Show. I can't whistle.
I am so glad you can't whistle. Whistling is so annoying. Because if you could whistle, you'd be whistling Patience all the time. Hate that song.
I just can't do it. Anyway, and also correct. Anyway, Bubba done one up on 99.9 The Fan there in Raleigh, North Carolina. By the way, I know somebody the other day was like, Rob, that's really disrespectful. Dog, that's half my family, bro. Half my family talks like that. You send me back down to Crestview, Florida, where my uncles live, I'll come back sounding a little bit twang.
I don't care if you like my Southern accent. So there you
You
go.
have a Southern accent?
Exactly. Well, I mean, when I want to, when the turrets hit, because you never know when they're going to hit.
The Southern Turrets. Anyway, Bubba was on 99.9 The Fan in Raleigh, North Carolina, and was asked about the comments of FSU President Richard McCulloch that he made during a Board of Trustees meeting on Wednesday. McCulloch told the board that the Noles would, quote, very seriously consider leaving the ACC, end quote, unless there is a radical change to the conference's revenue distribution model. Adam Gold, the host of the Adam Gold Show, who just names a show after themselves.
You know, that's amazing. That really is. I'm like, dude, how'd you come up with that?
Come on, man. Better branding, dude. Be more creative. How do you get a show and just name it after you, you egomaniac?
It sounds like it might not be a bad idea, though.
Adam Gold said, and I quote, I don't think it's good for our league for them to be out there barking like that. I'd rather see them be a good member of the league, support the league, and if they have to make a decision, then so be it. Pay for the exit fee, wait for your grant of rights that you've given, and then in 2036, when those rights return to you, do whatever you want.
Nope.
That is maybe a quote from FSU President Randy McCulloch.
Nope.
Exactly. Here's the thing, Bubba. I would like to say, I get it. Okay? I get it. I understand. Because the belief right now is North Carolina would probably catch an invite somewhere. Would it be where they want to go? I don't know. Would they be making top flight talent money? I don't know. By the way, Tommy said, because Rob After Dark was so original. This show is the Rob Brown show, Tommy. That was the joke.
That was a sarcasm.
Yeah, that was the joke.
We're doing this thing. We do it on two different shows. This thing that we're doing right, if you got to explain it, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Look, there's the logo on the stream right there.
Look at
It's
that.
literally the Rob Brown show.
Look at that. Wow.
All right. So anyway. Bubba. Okay. So Bubba. Yeah, Bubba. Oh, good old Bubba. If they have you want them being Florida State to make a decision and then put that decision into action in the year 2036, not 2026, which is still 3 years away. But you want them to delay until 2036. Now, I get it. The reality is, when some of these schools, the crown jewel schools, Florida State, Clemson, Oregon, Washington, Arizona State, when they join up with either the SEC or the Big Ten, and the EEC gets formed elsewhere, which will not be as valuable as the two power conferences, this feels inevitable to me. When it happens, everybody that gets left behind by the SEC and the Big Ten will have to struggle in a second-tier football system just to survive. That's the reality of this situation. And unless you know you got a landing spot, you want to try to hold firm, right? Unless you know you got a landing spot, you want to try to hold the phalanx together. Everybody stay. Like the Spartans at Thermopylae. You've got to hold the formation against ever-growing numbers. Now, we know the Big Ten, we found out yesterday, has narrowed their expansion list down to just Oregon and Washington, giving them a footprint in the Pacific Northwest. The SEC does not appear to have widened their net nor casted it. They don't seem to be actively looking, but they don't have to. They are the current kings of the castle when it comes to valuation of the conference. They can be more selective because they have more to put on the table. They have more to offer if and when they decide to make the move. A team like Florida State has to put it on the table, and this is why I'm interested that Clemson has been so quiet. Has to put it on the table that they're interested in a move, hoping to attract the bigger fish to them, right? Hoping to get a bidding war going between the Big Ten and the SEC for where they're going to land next when they leave the ACC. Now, again, still no guarantee they do. Still no guarantee there's any legal way out of this. And because of the comments of Bubba Cunningham, AD at UNC, one of my hypotheticals, one of my theories about the strategery of FSU's decision to make these statements is that they were hoping to get Carolina, Miami, and Clemson to jump out in the public sphere to agree with them and to create a momentum storm back towards the ACC. This was one of the big four. Florida State, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina. This was one of the big four. Woo! Flair country.
Can't hold up four fingers in that.
Woo! Woo! So this was one of the big four that I think it is possible. I am not saying this with any sort of definitiveness, as I pointed out yesterday to a dear friend of mine, saying I am speculating X versus X is true are two different things. I make it abundantly clear when I say,
I think that.
This is the reason a thing is happening, not that this thing is happening. My speculation, my thought, my opinion, my analysis, my guess, if I must. My guess here is that Florida State was looking to gauge all of the thermometers. What is the ACC going to do? What is UNC, Clemson, Miami, and who am I leaving out? Whoever else in the ACC. What do they do? Do they respond? Are they willing to step out and support us, or do they leave us out to dry? And the answer now we know is at least one of those schools have left FSU out to dry, that being North Carolina. What does that say if you're Florida State? It says you are less likely, it would initially appear, or at least the circumstances have not gelled enough at this moment in time that you can build momentum towards the full disbanding of the ACC. Doesn't look like you're going to have the firepower, right? Because the Syracuses and the Pitts of the world, they're not going to do that. They have no idea if a Big Ten or an SEC or a Big 12 would pick them up. So they're not going to disband, even if the ACC is a distant third place. And by the way, looks like it could be a distant fourth place now behind the Pac-12. Why? Because we also learned yesterday that the Pac-12 could, as early as today, go ahead and give the thumbs up to Arizona State University to make the jump over to that conference. That is only a big deal because if you go back to last week, you will remember that last week, one night, the Big 12 gave the thumbs up for Colorado to join, and we all went, "Oh, that's weird." And then what happened the next day? Colorado joined the Big 12 starting next year. So if the Big 12 gives the old, there he is, to Arizona State, it almost at this point kind of feels good as gold that the Sun Devils will be joining the Big 12 within the next week. And if that happens, Arizona's probably following. And if that happens, the Pac-12 is dead with a capital D. Because Oregon and Washington are going Big 10. The Pac-12 is already, I shouldn't even say all that. Pac-12 is already dead. I said that on, what, Wednesday's show? Pac-12 is dead. In fact, I think I even literally said the phrase, go ahead, grab the shovel and throw dirt on them because they dead. Feinbaum came out Thursday night and said the exact same thing. The Pac-12 is toast at this point. There's no question about that to me. They have one more emergency meeting scheduled for tomorrow with George Kliavkoff speaking to commissioners and presidents of schools within the league. And he's got nothing to add. It is basically going to be a groveling session. Please don't leave us. We don't know how to go on without you. Except for they're upgrading, bro. You ever beg somebody in a relationship not to leave you for somebody that very clearly is better for them?
We'll call them beef.
Freaking beef. God, I hate beef. Anyway, the Pac-12 is dead. And so if you're Florida State, you're recognizing that means the race to be the EEC is what? Big 12 versus ACC. That's the race right now. That's it. The Big 12 is about to renegotiate their media rights agreement. They can do two things. Negotiate it for more money than the ACC and a longer period of time. Or, excuse me, a shorter period of time than the ACC. So Florida State right now, I think, is pretty much just putting out there, hey, yo, we kind of want to take the plunge. Now, is it the right time? Let me grab clip one, Lonzo. I think it's like a 30-second clip. We'll hit this, and then we'll take the break. Paul Feinbaum yesterday was once again on ESPN, was once again talking college football conference expansion, and once again was asked, should Team X leave Conference Y? This time it was, should the Noles and Clemson walk from the ACC? And Paul said this. There's nothing that they can do other than hope. The Pac-12's dead. They don't even have hope anymore. The ACC's hope is that they can figure out a way to get the smaller schools to agree with an unequal revenue distribution model that makes FSU, Clemson, Miami, and North Carolina happy so they'll stick around. But here's the reality, ladies and gents. Once the Big 12 is finished adding Arizona and Arizona State, potentially Utah, once they are finished adding those schools, they're going to be able to renegotiate for more money and fewer years than the ACC. I'm not saying the writing's on the wall. Any number of weird things can happen between here and the next 2 years. But right now, it looks like the Big 12 has played their hands the right way to be the EEC. Let's give away 2 tickets to All Elite Wrestling Saturday Night Collision to caller number 2. Caller number 2 right now to 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. 3663. Caller number 2 right now is winning a pair of tickets to tomorrow night's show at the Bon Score Wellness Arena. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stepping away for just a minute. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, dudes and dudettes, we back.
Or is my local sushi restaurant part of an international scam? Or how sad are the monkeys? Did you, like me, find this real bewildering, but also sometimes enjoy being bewildered by it? Check out the show on the Odyssey app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently.
By the way, Kevin, not going to cry because you know what? If I recall, the Chiefs lost to the Bills last season. You know what else the Chiefs did? They won the Super Bowl. So, you know, we got that going for us.
No cookie cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs. But you do sell
I've decided there are some questions that I've always wanted to ask a wrestler.
No, Fisher Investments doesn't.
I'm not telling you.
sell investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
What's the fun in that? I mean, you know,
Investments fees are structured.
I mean, I'll tell you if you want me to,
Not now.
but I mean, you know, if you require that I tell you the questions that I'm going to ask, I will submit them in writing.
So we've worked together for 2 years
A
now,
month.
and I've never required anything of you.
You should, but that's okay. Boot Barn. The most apt commercial ever created by humanity on the radio.
Listen here.
I'm not making fun of Boot Barn. I purchased a hat from Boot Barn just a few weeks ago, and I will be wearing it proudly 1 week from tomorrow as we bring home that trophy.
Lonzo, you got to drop that voice down lower if you want to be a man.
I can't do that. Really, I think that's about as low as I go.
You can You got two options. You can wear our jeans, or you can not.
Well, that's cool, Trey. Trying to see hello. I can't. I mean, I know my normal speaking voice has some depth to it, but not like I see the bottom end of like Charlie James's voice. It's always, you know what? I sing tenor. Why do I care that I can't sing bass as low as you? Stop shaming me, Rob.
Congrats to our guy, Luke. Luke racked up a pair of tickets to go see All Elite Wrestling Saturday Night Collision tomorrow at the Bon Score Wellness Arena. Going to be a great show. Your boy will be ringside. I know we got quite a group of Rob Brown Show Armada members all going to the gig tomorrow night. And coming up at 11 a.m., we'll be talking with All Elite Wrestling star Chris Statlander. Looking forward to talking to Stat, one of my favorites on the AEW roster. So that is going to be a good show. Real good lineup of who's going to be there. We don't have the full card yet. It's still being put together. But the ones they have announced are going to be real good. And also, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's going to be there. So,
you know, there are some people that just age so well. And as someone who's a little bit older, why can't I age like that? I guess he probably just takes care of himself better than I do.
Because Ricky the Dragon Steamboat has never done anything negative to adverse his body in his life.
He went from being, you know, that wicked in the ring to that distinguished looking older gentleman.
Yeah. Guess who just got announced?
Yeah, that's all. That was I thought we talked
didn't see
about.
that.
I thought we talked about that yesterday. Maybe we didn't.
I'm more
Yeah.
excited now than I was 30 seconds ago.
I didn't see.
And I was very excited 30 seconds ago.
I didn't see that they were doing a match,
we'll
but
hear from.
yeah, hear from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine by me.
Yeah.
That's fine by me. All right, one last thought on this conference expansion stuff before we call it a break and get to our numero dos, where we've got baseball, we've got some soccer. I'm just hitting all the hot topics in hour number 2. There's one more thing that's interesting here. FSU has started the push. We already know that Clemson is unhappy with what's happening within the ACC. They have already said that in the past. I can't imagine that anything has changed enough so far that their stance will have changed. UNC came out and lobbed a grenade at Florida State, said all that barking isn't good for anybody, but at the same time, I suspect, I don't know, I suspect that UNC is probably in the same boat. Yada, yada, yada. We also found out yesterday that the Big 12 is likely going to vote either today or tomorrow to accept, should they wish to join, at least Arizona State. I suspect there will be 2 more coming down the pipeline in the next year, right? We know they want to stay at an even number, so they either got to invite 1 or 3. Arizona and Utah are also both right there. Now, they may or may not want multiple schools within the same footprint. I don't know, but we'll find out. Either way, the point is the Big 12 is taking active steps. The Big 10 is taking active steps to expand. The Southeastern Conference doesn't just have to add people for the sake of adding people, but they do have to add people to continue their positioning alongside of or one step out front of the Big 10. I think these moves, FSU chirping, the Big 12 giving the thumbs up to the Sun Devils, and the Big 10 reopening conversations about making the move for Oregon and Washington, it might very well be the catalyst for the SEC to grow by another 2 as well. Not a guarantee, but it does seem if they want to stay out front of everybody, these moves could force them to pull the trigger. Could FSU and Clemson be on the receiving end of that if the SEC is willing to help with the buyouts? All right, we'll talk more about that hopefully next week. We're back after this for hour 2 of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Rob doesn't sing baritone. Yes, I do, Thomas. Occasionally.
I'm going to take his word for it.
You probably should.
Yeah. That negates all your bass shaming.
I don't shame bassist.
You were shaming me for not being able to hit lower notes. Mr. I can sing Toby Keith and AC/DC.
I love this bar. My kind of place.
How come you sound like Lurch singing it though? Now I'm envisioning that. It's a scary
I
place.
love this bar.
We're going abroad for the first time in years to Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babbel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Vamos a tener mucha diversión.
I will be, Kevin. I can't speak for Rob.
Babbel.
He's got 37 jobs, and you know.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
It's been years in the making, and now the most epic comic and game story is finally here. Borderlands Comics and Games. Reimagined, bigger and better than before. The state's premier hobby shop has been bringing the best in comics.
Would say I've got a foot in retirement, but I'm a really slow walker, so like another decade. But
The Borderlands experience for yourself. We have gone to a whole new level. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. Proud sponsors of the Upstate Pulse. Borderlands Comics and Games. Read, build, play. The 4th annual Bourbon and Bacon Fest, benefiting Upstate Carolina Adaptive Golf, is Friday, September 22nd at the Foundry at Judson Mill in downtown Greenville. Treat your taste buds to over 100 bourbons and bacon-inspired food from many restaurants. Tickets at bourbonandbaconfest.com.
Keeping your kids safe is a full-time job, whether it's putting on outlet covers, installing child gates, or gluing down your priceless base. So Duracell made one part of childproofing simple. Our lithium coin batteries are the only ones coated in a non-toxic bitterant to help discourage swallowing. Your kid is safer, and you've got one less thing to worry about.
At least that's all she did, because with our conversations with Arn Anderson and with Sergeant Slaughter, people did a whole lot worse with that. Arn Anderson got cane and Sergeant Slaughter got acid thrown on him. The stat when you say I got stabbed 6 times and I got acid thrown on you, and then you forget about the stabbing because you're thinking about the acid.
Yeah.
This is one of those cases where older wrestlers can say the kids today don't know how bad it was. Good. Yeah, good for them. By the way, hearing this promo reminds me that high school football returns in just 2 weeks.
Yes, it does.
2 weeks
August
from
19th.
today. Well, actually 2 weeks from tomorrow. I'm glad we had that discussion because I had it scheduled wrong, but I fixed it.
Did you have it on the wrong day?
I did.
Yeah.
Even though I knew it was on Saturday, for some reason, I'm just. It did. It also got him in trouble because, as he told us on the air, Kevin, when he came back from G.I. Joe, McMahon made him do the turn.
Yeah.
And because he went to G.I. Joe. I still think he's more famous for G.I. Joe, but that's because that was, I was a teenager or tweenie or something then. Gable's in the first break. Nod or something. This is like you don't hear a word I'm saying.
Gable's in the first break.
Thank you. There's money involved, or I wouldn't care if you're ignoring me.
I hear you. It just doesn't always.
You just don't care.
Sink
Sorry.
in. And
I hear you, but I just don't. Whatever you say.
All right, let me ask you guys a question per a conversation that I was just having with the great one before we came back on the air. So, if you watch the stream, you already know this, right? If you watch the stream, you already know this. We have conversations off the air that we don't have on it on our stream, which you can watch at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, or by searching and subscribing to The Fan Upstate on YouTube or The Rob Brown Show on Twitch. And part of what you get to see is the show actually run behind the scenes, right? Lonzo and I telling each other what's coming up on the show, what time our guests are, Lonzo telling me when our next live reads are going to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lonzo, during the break, told me that we have one to end this segment, right? We got a live read coming up this segment. And I heard him, but I did not respond to him. That he said, do you just not hear what I'm saying, or are you just not responding? And this has gotten me in trouble with the fiance before as well, the mom as well, that I will hear something, but if I don't have anything to add, like I'm not going to go, no. Like obviously I'm doing that thing. And I'm not, Lonzo, yes, should get a response. I acknowledge that in this case, should get a response.
A nod is fine. A nod is, you don't even have to verbally, just a little nod and I'm good.
I am the dude that
just
when
trying
someone
to do my
says
job,
something,
man. That's all.
When someone says something that I don't have a response for, or a response is not required, I will often just not say anything, right? I just won't say anything. Does anybody else do that, or am I just a bad person?
I think it's such a contrast to what your normal personality is, because you're constantly talking that suddenly you don't say anything. So immediately you think you're being ignored. So I think you do it to yourself by how you normally operate.
I guess so. Kevin said, at least flip him the bird, Rob.
That's still, whether I like that or not, at least that is, I'm not going to get angry about that. At least I know that that's acknowledgement,
Fair enough. All right, let's get into some more stuff on the show. Coming up on Sunday morning at 5 a.m.
Nope.
5 in the morning.
Nope.
Team USA Women's Soccer kicks off. They will be taking on in the opening round of the knockout round, Sweden. Okay, don't do that. So
why? That was awesome.
old Swedish chef.
One of the best Muppets of all time.
I was gonna say, if you're power ranking the Muppets, top five Muppet Swedish chef.
For sure, maybe even top 3.
Do I get the chickens with the Swedish chef, or do they go with Gonzo? I think they go with Gonzo.
They go with Gonzo.
Yeah,
I'd rather not talk about Gonzo, but yeah.
I started watching, by the way, the Dr. Teeth series.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that, and I haven't watched it.
Pretty
yet.
funny.
Every time you say Gonzo, I think of that lady.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Oh, you're like a Muppet. Shut up, lady.
So Sunday morning, 5 a.m., we take on the Swedes. And the Swedes have kind of become a rival of sorts, right? You'd think that it is you'd think it was going to be a Canada. You'd think it was going to be a Britain. No, it's Sweden. They're the ones that have given us the most problems. So far, the Americans all time in a series that dates back till 1987 have an overall record of 23-12-7 against Sweden. However, the last 10 matches have been even. 4 wins, 4 draws, 2 losses. So it ain't great. 9 of the last 10 meetings between the two teams have been decided by 2 goals or fewer. They have played us exceptionally well. This was, in my opinion, the worst possible outcome for the beginning of the knockout round for the Americans. Now, the good news is this. If the Americans get out of this matchup with a win over Sweden, they've pretty much, I'm not going to say they've taken out the toughest match because you've still got Norway that's over there. You've still got Spain alive right now. You've still got Denmark. That's a good team. The Brits are still alive right now. Now, on the top half of the bracket where the Americans are, you have Switzerland, you have Spain, you have Japan, you have Norway, you have the Netherlands, South Africa, Sweden, and the Americans. If the Americans get by Sweden, they catch in round 2 the Netherlands. Another very good team, a team that we already needed a miracle goal to take a 1-1 draw from. And if they win that, they're going to get the group winner out of Switzerland, Spain, Japan, and Norway. 4 of the best teams on planet Earth. This path from here to the Women's World Cup quarterfinals and through to the semis is going to be really, really difficult. So, knowing that we've established the most difficult possible course for ourselves to get there, is there optimism? Are there any encouraging numbers for the Americans? And the answer is very much yes. There are some encouraging numbers for this football team and their chances to make it back to a semifinals. Remember, since the dawn of the Women's World Cup, the Americans have never been knocked out before the semifinals of the tournament. Now, again, this is not our best team, or at least not playing the best football we've sent. And the rest of the world has started to catch up. So what are those numbers? Well, let's take a look. Through the group stage in 2011, 15, and 19, the U.S. allowed an average of 1 goal from 23.3 shots allowed, worth 3.8 XG. XG is expected goals. Based on the shot selection, the shot efficiency, and the shot likelihood percentage, they calculate XG. That is the number of shots you faced, how many expected goals. The higher that XG, the worse it is for you. The Americans, in a combined effort of 2011, 15, and 19, allowed an average of 1 goal on a 3.8 XG. That means they were allowing teams to score 25% of the time that they were expected to score. And they're doing the same, surprisingly, this year. In a group that featured the Netherlands and Portugal, which is a really good group, the Americans have allowed 1 goal on just 11 shots, worth 0.7 XG. Now, obviously, when the XG is 0.7, there's only one way to go. Either you're under it with 0 or you're just over it with 1. They surrendered 1 goal despite playing 2 of the top 7 teams in the FIFA Women's World Cup rankings. The Netherlands managed just 5 shots in their game against the Americans, and Portugal got off 6 shots against the Americans, worth 0.3 and 0.4 XG. Now, Portugal nearly got the win. They had a shot on goal that, frankly, most professional soccer players are hitting 99 out of 100 times. We got lucky and caught the one. It bounced off the post and went out. That would have knocked us out and sent Portugal through. But according to ESPN, that was a low probability shot with a 0.07 XG, as was the goal that the Netherlands scored that had an XG of 0.05. That means that those two shots score, according to ESPN, 7% of the time and 5% of the time. The two goals we gave up, if you trust these numbers, the two goals that we gave up, the one that cost us an outright win against the Netherlands, the one that cost us an outright win, that would have cost us an L against Portugal, were both low percentage shots. Defensively, this team is as good as anybody in the tournament. Teams do not get clean looks, and when they do get clean looks, they are clean looks at low percentage shots. The defense of this team has been very, very good. The question mark is the finishing. The question mark is the ability to score. And this is where we start to get nervous. In 2011, in the 3 matches of group play, the Americans had 6 goals on 68 shots that were worth 6.9 XG. So they would have been expected under normal circumstances to score 7 goals. They scored 6. In 2015, in the 3 group stage matches, 3 matches, 4 goals on 39 shots worth 3.3 XG. So they actually outscored the expected goals. In 2019, 3 goals on 18 goals from 82 shots worth 13 XG. So they way outshined their expected number of goals. This year, not so much. 3 matches, 4 goals on 63 shots worth 8.1 XG. That means the Americans have scored on fewer than half of the shots they are expected to score on. They have not been able to finish. Now, I said I was going to stay optimistic here. I said I was going to try to create a reason for fringe fans to wake up early morning on Sunday and watch some footy with me.
Nope.
I'm doing my best. I'm going to keep going. I ain't done yet. Back in 2015, the Americans had a lesser overall efficiency attack than in the group stage than they did this year. That year, they scored 4 goals. They scored 4 goals on a 3.3 XG, 0.08 per shot. Those are lower numbers than they had this year. But that put them into the knockout rounds. They got Colombia in round 1. Against Colombia, they scored twice. They got Germany, got them by 2 as well. And then in the final of that tournament, they scored 5. They found something after the group stage going into the knockout round. Again, they will have to do the same. Now, I do have a little bit of a concern. The concern that I have here is that while we have had some personnel changes in the starting 11, we have had differing strategies as far as substitutions in these 3 matches so far. The tactics have not changed. The tactics have not changed at all. The tactics have been the same. And unfortunately, because of the fact that the tactics have not changed, we have ended up in a spot where the rest of the world has figured out the correct way to match those. I go back to the game against Norway. What did Norway do? Norway found out that the way that we were, I really should say, not attacking Vlatko Andonovski's scheme was to leave the middle of the field, right? We left the middle of the field. We tried to pressure the ball to the outside, create a turnover, and then outrun you to the goal. I said after game number 1, a 3-goal win against Vietnam, I said after game one, it was becoming obvious that we weren't going to be able to just out-athlete teams anymore. It used to be that you could play mid-level soccer because you could just out-athlete everybody. But that's not the case anymore. This team is aged. Alex Morgan's 34 years old. She ain't 25 anymore. We're not going to just out-athlete everybody anymore, unfortunately. And because we can't just out-athlete people anymore, unfortunately, we got to have better tactics and we need to adapt. We got to change them. I think Ananovsky came into this thinking we were just going to out-athlete everybody again. Because once the Netherlands figured out that they could play to and then through the middle of the field, because we had all our pressure built on the outside. So, if there's pressure to the left and there's pressure to the right, just like the flow of water, the easiest thing to do is follow the path of least resistance. So what did the Norwegians do? They got the ball to the middle. They put runners down both sides. They waited to figure out where the U.S. defense was going to collapse in order to bring pressure, right? Because the third option is you just take the ball up the middle of the field where there's no defenders, yeah? So they put the ball in the middle of the field. They had an attacking mid on. They brought the ball up the middle of the field. And then the Americans had a choice to make. Which one of your backline defenders, which one of your fullbacks do you send up to stop the run so that the attacker down the middle doesn't just run it into the box and have a 1v1 with the goalie? And that might be the easiest way to play soccer. Run it up the middle. See which of the white jerseys attacks you. Have a striker flow into that spot so she's unmarked, get the ball to her, and create opportunities. Fortunately, the back line of this team has been acceptable. Not great, but acceptable. Unfortunately, the deeper we go in this tournament, the better the front lines we're going to face are, and the more pressure there will be on that back line if things go wrong. I need to see the Americans control the middle of the field. I need to see the Americans own the middle of the field. I need to see them understand that if they want to win this matchup against Sweden, and honestly, every matchup after it, that they've got to be able to play multiple styles of attacking football, and they've got to understand that they can't just outrun everybody anymore, right? The big frustrating part during the Landon Donovan, Clint Dempsey era of men's soccer was that we brought a spray and pray tactic into matches, and it didn't work. It didn't work. That only works if you are clearly full of better athletes. We're not anymore, unfortunately. So you got to go tactical. What happened in that last World Cup of Landon Donovan when we made it to the knockout round and we gave ourselves a chance? We weren't just spraying and praying. We weren't just booting the rock down to the attacking third, chasing after it and hoping something good happened. We actually played through a plan. If on Sunday morning, by halftime, the Americans aren't trying to dominate the middle of the field instead of just outrunning people down the sides, I will turn it off and go back to bed because we're doomed. If he can't switch up tactics, understand and make better substitutions to play to those tactics, we're screwed. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, I got some Braves baseball to get to. Max Fried back on the bump tonight for the Atlanta Braves, and that's big news because they're taking on a suddenly good Chicago Cubs team. That's a big series. We'll talk about that coming up later on in the show. I got a couple more thoughts that we may or may not get to in the third of college football expansion. I got some NFL stuff with Doug Peterson, and I want to make very clear a point that I made about the NFC South yesterday. And I'll do that coming up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, got a live read right here. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
On Saturday, August 5th, it's the can't miss event everyone's talking about.
Yeah, we'll talk some Braves coming up there, Kevin.
Saturday nights will never be the same again on TNT. Don't miss the Redeemer Miro. This is my show.
Rob, look.
Oh, dude, just why? Park in the lines, people. It is not, if you are incapable of parking inside of the lines, you should have your driver's license revoked. That should be a freaking ticket, dude. I think we should start a watch group that's allowed to take pictures of people who park like that, send their pictures to the cops, and they catch a ticket for it.
Yeah. Unless you're at the dollar store. At the dollar store, you can park however you want.
Concentrated agents from your own body to stimulate that damaged tissue in your joints so they can work like they're supposed to, and there's zero downtime. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting medical breakthrough, and patients here are getting real lasting relief and are saying no to surgery and drugs. So if you have pain due to injury or arthritis, this is a remarkable opportunity that you need to check out, and the consultation is free. So call QC Kinetics now at 864-448-3772 in Greenville and Asheville. That's 864-448-3772.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month for news, weather, and emergency information. A new bill in Congress would make sure AM radio remains in cars. Because when cell and internet services are down, this free service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52.
So, Tommy, Rob and I went to go learn how to do a sport. And as we were signing up for the sport, I said my name was Lonzo, and the lady looked up and said, "Oh, like a Muppet."
Yep.
And the way she said it was not endearing. It was not. It was very Karen-like. But I used it as motivation to go on an angry tirade on my show on Saturday, leading into me singing Am I a Man or Am I a Muppet?" So it worked out good that way. But it hurt. Even Rob was paying attention then, and he kind of did one of these, like, oh. Because people think I make that stuff up. And if we are Bert and Ernie, the way you spelled it, Kevin, he's Ernie.
Yeah, probably.
Because he's got 37 jobs.
Okay, because it just will not release us from its grasp. You know what, Lonzo? I think this is worth the glass, honestly. I'm gonna say this is I'm gonna say this is grass caliber. There it is. Breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Be a better, be smarter, and beat the books with BetQL. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that tomorrow from noon to 4, Bet for the Cycle, the nation's numero uno baseball gambling show, airs with myself and Cody Decker. If you are a fan of either baseball, gambling, or a bunch of dudes trying to humiliate each other, Bet for the Cycle is for you. Pete Thamel, who has been really kind of the linchpin in media coverage of all of this stuff so far. Thamel just tweeted out, great one, with the Pac-12 presidents meeting at the top of the hour, there's optimism about the league's grant of rights being signed. The key linchpin is Oregon. Heading into the meeting, the school is trending towards not going to the Big Ten. If Oregon doesn't go, Washington doesn't go. And if Orrington,
it's right next to Oregon. It's like the 51st state, Orrington.
If Oregon and Washington don't go together, the Pac-12 remains alive. There's a heartbeat yet, ladies and gentlemen. It's like that dramatic movie scene where they see the person on the floor and there's blood everywhere and the detective runs in and the two other detectives are like, oh no. And then the third detective runs in and goes with the fingers to the neck and they turn around and they go, he's got a pulse, right? Because that's how it works. Suddenly the Pac-12 has a pulse. Thamel went on and said, quote, Oregon are expected to stay in the Pac-12 barring an 11th hour change. That could have the power to keep the league together as Arizona has not finalized its deal with the Big 12. Remember, I told you back in the last hour that the Big 12 had given the thumbs up to Arizona to get the nod to move into the Big 12. And my assumption was, and I don't think it was incorrect, that Arizona went ahead, got all the details ready, got all the details lined up, not to make the jump, but to have the jump ready to be made if Oregon and Washington were to jump over to the Big Ten. Therefore, Arizona would not be in a spot where they were left standing alone with nothing to show for it. It was going to take a colossal effort to keep the Pac-12 together if Oregon and Washington bounced. Washington, I thought, speculated, assumed, was only going to depart the Pac-12 for the Big Ten if Oregon went, right? There wasn't a lot to show for Washington in moving over if they were going by themselves. And frankly, I don't know that the Big Ten would have accepted Washington by themselves. I'm thinking Oregon was, to use Thamel's word, the linchpin in that whole move. But if Oregon is indeed planning on staying in the Pac-12, the way that Pete Thamel is saying that they are, the Pac-12 has life. Now, I still think that life is on some cables and batteries right now. I still think that life is in a rough spot right now. I still think that life is desperate. Is going to need some help. But I do think they have life. If the Pac-12 can keep Oregon and Washington happy, and again, as I said earlier in the week, Feinbaum echoed by sentiments later that same day, I'm not sure why, right? I'm not entirely sure why Washington and Oregon would stay in the Pac-12 if the best grant of rights agreement they had was you guys got to go door to door and sell Apple subscriptions in order to make the same money you would make going elsewhere. And I certainly don't know, with one exception, why Oregon and Washington would not go to the Big Ten. The one reason that I could see Oregon and Washington not go to the Big Ten, Lonzo, is because football programs, which in these athletic departments, let's be real, are the loudest voices in the room, right? Like the basketball program's going to have some say. Track and field's going to have some say. But at the end of the day, the football program is the loudest voice. The only thing I can come up with, though, is that the football program is going, yeah, listen, we understand that we would make a lot more money. And when I say the football program, I think in the case of Oregon, I probably largely mean Phil Knight. But the football program says, look, we know we stand to make a lot of money. We know we stand to be able to jump over and get paid a lot more by the Big Ten. But Lonzo, if they go to the Big Ten, the football schedule gets a lot harder, a lot quicker. Especially with USC and UCLA over there now. The Pac-12 is just not as talented of a conference. That's not to say it'll never get back up there, but it got a lot more difficult, right?
If you know that the conference is going to stay together and you've just lost two of your best competitors, why not stay where you are? Because then you're in a situation that another conference, let's call it the ACC, has, where you can be one of the top dogs and you don't have to worry about anything else and probably have a better shot of making it into the playoffs.
Oh, and for the record, Oregon is the top dog in the Pac-12 right now, right? The toppest of dogs. But there's one more thing. I mentioned Phil Knight a minute ago. Phil Knight's net worth, Lonzo, is $42.6 billion with a B. All right? $42 billion. Now, he's not in Elon Musk territory. He's not in Jeff Bezos territory. Both Bezos is like 153 mil. Elon's like 242 or something like that.
B. You went with
a B.
Yeah, with a B. Yeah.
Phil Knight's worth $42.6 billion. But again, I have told you guys the difference in a million versus a billion. And my favorite way to explain it is in seconds. 1 million seconds is 12 days. 1 billion seconds is 32 years. Okay? If you have $1 million and you can buy one more second of life for $1, you can add 12 days to your life. If you have $1 billion and you can buy time at a dollar per second, you can live 32 more years. So what I'm saying here is Phil Knight could pay the difference himself between what the Pac-12 will offer with their new grant of rights and what the Big Ten will offer in their grant of rights. He could pay that himself, and he could pay it for 50 years. And it would be a percentage of his net worth, right? Like a low percentage of his net worth. So I do honestly wonder if that plays into it at all. Because we know the impact that a mega booster like a Phil Knight can make. We know how big T-Bone Higgins was back before he passed for Oklahoma State. We know what Phil Knight does. We know the sway he has on that campus. And so, because he's a Duck, does that push Oregon to stay? Phil doesn't want you to go. Phil wants you to stay. Phil wants you to win the Pac-12 championship for the next 50 years running. And he's just going to up the amount he gives to the booster club every year. He gives to the program every year. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know if that works. I don't know if that is like at all the reason that it would work. But what I do know is that if Oregon decides to stay in the Pac-12 and that hamstrings Washington to staying in the Pac-12 as well, well, now the Big Ten doesn't really have, at least right now, any of their desired targets for conference expansion, which means that, Lonzo, there's only two conferences, I think, right now that are happy to stand pat, the SEC and the Big Ten, the big two, right? Those two are happy to stand pat. I think everybody else, the Pac-12, the Big 12, the ACC, have to be looking at growth. But if the two big conferences are happy to stand pat, there's no pressure on them to grow. Because the Big Ten growing would threaten the SEC. They'd have to grow and vice versa. If they both feel confident and comfortable to stand pat right now and don't put pressure on each other to grow, they're not going to grow. Now, how does that impact some of the schools we're talking about? Well, here's the thing. If Florida State and Clemson are going to either A, jump through the ridiculous legal hurdles that they would need to jump through in order to depart the ACC before 2036, they would likely, I assume, only do it for a landing spot in the Big Ten or the SEC. If neither one of those schools, neither one of those conferences at this moment in time have any pressing desire to immediately add those two schools because of, I don't think it's, the SEC and the Big Ten don't want Clemson or Florida State. I think it's the SEC and the Big Ten don't want the hassle that comes along with Clemson and Florida State. They don't want to deal with the hassle that comes along with exit fees, grant of right litigation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if that is the case, and neither one of them wants to put up with it, Clemson and Florida State don't really have a reason to push back against the ACC.
So
other than we just want more money.
I get it's about money, but the Big Ten and the SEC don't need anybody else. If they decide they don't need anybody, they don't want anybody else to come in, they'll be fine.
They will. The only reason, let's start with this. You are correct. It is about money. The only reason the Big Ten has to grow, Lonzo, is to keep up with the SEC if the SEC grows. The only reason the SEC has to grow right now is to keep up with the Big Ten if the Big Ten grows. They are, as of right now, they are level. They're on an equal footing for the most part, right? They're level. They're on equal footing for the most part. There's not really a reason for either to grow until the other grows. Now, the only other primary reason that they would grow is they're going to bring in a school that's going to add a bunch of money. That's why USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten. That's why Texas and Oklahoma are in the Southeastern Conference starting next year. If Florida State and Clemson, if Florida State and or Clemson was not embroiled in the ACC situation right now, I do think that at that point, one of those two conferences would be making a push to grab one or both of them. But the problem is those two are so caught up in the ACC right now and all of the probably litigation that's going to come along with it that they may not be ultimately valuable. They may not be able to put more into the coffers than they take out, and probably not for some time. So there's no need to jump. And outside of that, what schools remaining truly add value? I'm not talking about just a little bit. I'm talking about value that the SEC goes, this school gives us a leg up on the Big Ten, or vice versa. Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida State, Oregon, and then I guess the other schools out of the Pac-12 we talked about, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah. The hell was that?
That was someone turning something up really loud in another studio.
I heard that over me.
Yeah. And that's a major feat.
Is that Diesel? It's got to be, right? No, I bet that's in the server room. Our engineers occasionally like to get wild in there.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. You know, our walls are supposedly soundproof.
That is incorrect.
It may be coming through the door.
All right, so to finish this up, because we got to take a break, one more segment, then Chris Statlander at 11. Then we'll have some fun on the way out in the third hour. Florida State and Clemson absolutely add value. I think Miami adds value. I think North Carolina adds a little value, not as much as FSU or Clemson does. I know Notre Dame adds value. I think Arizona and Arizona State add some value. I think Utah adds some value. I know Oregon adds value. Oregon State adds some value. Washington State adds some value. And outside of that, that's pretty much it. So until the ACC either disbands, which at this point, after the comments from Bubba earlier today, I don't suspect they're going to do. Or unless Clemson and FSU are happy to ride out the current grant of rights agreements for the next 13 football seasons. I'm being preemptive here, Lonzo. If Oregon and Washington stay in the Pac-12, if the Pac-12 signs this grant of rights agreement today, this actually might be the end of conference expansion for a couple of years. That might kill it off. Because who's left on the board that the Big Ten or the SEC would make a play for that are worthwhile value additions? I don't think there are anybody. I think we might keep the Power Five for another 8 or 9 years. And about that time, it might be worth it for an FSU or a Clemson to pay the exit fee for the ACC, but it's not right now at this point. If the Pac-12 stays together with Oregon and Washington staying in the fold, I think we're done with college expansion for a while.
I think the 12-team playoff will play into this, because the more teams you get into playoff, probably the more money your conference makes. And if it looks like it's too even and you want to get more money than that other conference, then you go look for some more guys. If not.
But again, who adds? Who adds? Who makes you more money? Florida State and Clemson do, Notre Dame does, right? The only wild card in this whole thing is if Notre Dame one day realizes that they can get more from a conference, the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC, but probably not. Is it if Notre Dame decides they can make more money from joining a conference than by staying independent on that NBC contract? Then Notre Dame jumps, at which case the other school would have to go acquire a couple of schools to make up for it. But if the Pac-12 keep Oregon and Washington, we might hit ourselves a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 year lull where nothing happens. We'll see. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Here's the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate. The NFL preseason officially got underway last night with a Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. The Browns beat the Jets 21-14.
All right, dudes and dudettes.
CNT Foundations, your foundation experts. For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early.
So apparently Nate Diaz and Jake Paul's people were supposedly fighting and had to hold each other back. All Jake Paul's people are all in suits. And all Diaz people look like they just came from the corner.
Diaz just left
in the middle of the end. Yeah. Yeah.
Just got up and left.
He just kind of did
hilarious.
he holds his hand up like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is
He
the car here, bro?
was, like, yeah. And then he walked out and got in the car. So that might have been actually what he was. Dude, is the Uber here? All right, I'm out.
AutoZone is more than a parts store. It's where we help you solve problems. Like, sorry, I'm late. My battery died. And I need a jump again. At America's #1.
Well, if things are at work the way that Rob says they're at work, and I kind of believe him to this degree, I still say Nate Diaz says screw it and knocks him out. I just and it
I hope
ends
you're right.
it ends the whole thing because it's Nate Diaz. He don't care.
I hope you're right.
And I think even if he was told, "Hey, you knock me out, you don't get paid a penny," I don't think he cares.
I mean, if one of them is going to do it, I mean, if somebody's going to do that, it's Nate. That guy's a lunatic.
He's whatever beyond a stoner is, which I don't know what the next level is. He's that next level.
See, by and large, almost unanimously, stoners are not violent people. Like a stoner.
I was
Not
just-
somebody who smokes pot.
Uh-huh.
A stoner, because those are different things.
Okay. All right.
Like somebody who drinks and an alcoholic are different.
Okay.
All right. I didn't plan on talking about it. Nate Diaz, MMA star from the UFC, who won more than he lost, but he lost a bunch too, is fighting Paul brother number 2,
The one that starts with a J.
Jake Paul.
The one that's not a wrestler.
Yeah. He is fighting Jake Paul tomorrow night. And this may shock you, Zoe, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, I don't care that much.
Right.
I'm sure the outcome will be shown places, unless the outcome is what I hope it is and what you hope it is. And that's that Nate goes, screw this, I'm knocking him out. And he does.
If there is a no knockout clause in the contract for this fight. And that's been a discussion about Floyd's fights and Conor McGregor's fights, right? Like, we're going to box, but there's you can't knock me out, right? Don't throw full haymakers at me. If there has ever been a fight that there is a fighter, an MMA-er, that I go, this guy might snap, right? This guy might take one off the nose and then go, bleep this, I'm ending it. It's Nate.
Which he's walked out on the press guy. He's already, you could tell he's not into this, which means he could walk in and just take a straight right and hit the floor, but
Yep.
he's not that kind of guy. Once he gets hit, he's going to hit back.
Now, I will say this. When we talk about these not boxing matches, I turn into Lonzo. Everything's a work. Nate Diaz walking out of the press conference, it's a work. The two security details getting into it at the weigh-in, it's all the work, right? Unfortunately, that is the consequence of both MMA and boxing deciding that the WWE aspect of it is as important as the fighting itself. That being said, if there is an MMAer that is going to get into influencer boxing and genuinely try to KO the dude, making a spectacle out of the sport, it's Nate. I could see, because we've seen Nate losing in the octagon a couple of times. Take a shot to the nose, and then his game plan falls apart, and he goes full feral wild animal on it. If Nate does that, I will watch the highlight of it and not a damn second else.
Yeah, because there's other stuff going on tomorrow night, including AEW Collision.
Right here at the Bon Score Wellness Arena in Greenville, South Carolina. I'll be there. Luke is going to be there. He won our tickets earlier today. Kev's going to be there. He won them yesterday. It's going to be a real good show and a real good card. I'm very much looking forward to it. We've got SummerSlam coming up tomorrow night as well over on the WWE side of things. We've got an early Sunday morning soccer match to stay awake for. We got Braves Cubbies coming up this evening on the radio show or on the television. Looking forward to that. Speaking of, we will address the return of Max Fried coming up in the next hour of the show. As the Braves going up against maybe the hottest team in Major League Baseball right now, the Chicago Cubs? ? Yes, it's accurate, folks. So we'll talk about that coming up in a little while. It's going to be a wild final hour of the show, in part, ladies and gentlemen, because coming up next on the show, we will be joined by All Elite Wrestling superstar Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander going to join us next on the show. We'll talk about her journey up to and through All Elite Wrestling. We will talk about she took the streak away from Jade Cargill. We'll talk to her about what it was like to win that match and to carry the TBS championship into Greenville on Saturday. She'll take on Mercedes Martinez tomorrow night. Looking forward to that bout. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk to Chris Statlander when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. It's Rob, it's Alonzo, it's the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we're going to be away for a couple minutes while we get Chris set up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
He was sending private chats last time, so I don't see one now, but he before.
Away we go, ladies and gentlemen, with the third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all. Welcome in. Glad to have you on a Friday afternoon streaming towards what is going to be an outstanding weekend. Friends, we are going to be not only keeping an eye on Team USA women's soccer in the World Cup knockout round, taking on Sweden at 5 a.m. We have also got Greenville Drive baseball taking place right here in the backyard, a doubleheader tonight. We'll check in with the Drive on Monday's show. But coming up tomorrow evening, live at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena, it is All Elite Wrestling Saturday Night Collision. Finally, have AEW in town, and we are now joined by All Elite Wrestling megastar, if you ask me, Miss Chris Statlander here on the show. How do you do, young lady?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes. I know that leading up to a show and being on the road, first off, let's start with AEW, based out of Jacksonville so long. I know you've been there for what, I think 4 years now. We've been watching AEW. Being out on the road, man, is it like, do you love it? Does it kind of start to wear on you a little bit?
So coming back from such an extensive knee surgery for the second time, where both times I've had to take a lot of traveling time off and not be a part of it. I was like, the second I come back, put me on everything, let me be everywhere. And I'm very worn out. I've got a very, very busy month coming up. But I try to be at every single Dynamite, which also is every Rampage. And I've been traveling to almost every single Collision as well. So I'm pretty much gone like 5 days of the week. And, you know, it's a lot to handle. I have a very good support system at home, making sure that my animals are taken care of, that everything that I need to be done here at home is taken care of. And I always try and keep up with stuff myself, so I'm not just putting all my like at home chores on other people. But it's fun. I love being at work. I love everyone that I get to see. It's like my second family. All my friends are there. So yeah, it's worth it, but it's a lot.
All right, we've seen some famous streaks in wrestling, and usually when someone ends a streak, they're hated.
Mhm.
I don't believe that you're hated for ending Jade Cargill's streak.
I think it's a mix. I think there was a lot of support for me before I got injured the second time, for me to get a big moment like I did. And there was a lot of support just hoping for the best for me when I came back. And I was really fortunate that even throughout all my injuries, people still supported me no matter what. And I do think that there's a lot of, there's not a lot, but I do see a lot of criticism about how it went down. But you know what? You can't change the past. It is what it is. You know, I'm just here to do my job and to be the best that I can be. And that's just how it played out. That's how it worked out for me that day. And I apologize if anyone feels a certain way about it. But, you know, people can't go streaking forever, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I think, and Lonzo and I were talking before the show about some of the different wrestlers that we love within AEW, and the ones that I love are the ones that seem to be the most true to themselves, both as professional wrestlers and as people in and out. And for me, I think that's what has made me a big fan of Chris Statlander, is you've always been, like, you've talked about in the past how you're kind of a big science dork, and that led to the gimmick that you were in. And then you've kind of hit the point where you want to be, I think the words you've just taken more seriously as a professional wrestler. You're TBS champion. I can't see how that could happen. But, oh, she brought the belt. Let's go.
Oh, there you go.
I love it.
Look at that. That thing is
I
beautiful.
love it.
Right here.
I mean, dude, first off, I'm going to come back to what I was saying. Do you take that everywhere? You like going to the mall strapped?
No, it's so heavy. I do bring it obviously to and from work with me, and traveling with this in my backpack, it hurts so much. But you know, I could probably just leave it at work and have them take care of it for me. But as the TBS champion, I feel like it's my responsibility to always have this and be responsible for it when I'm not just at work, but when I'm at home. And I also have some friends that have wanted to see it.
I love it. I love it. All right. So to finish up the thought I was having there, Chris, like I loved the alien gimmick. I'm also a gigantic science dork. I love the planet tattoos that you rock. I think they're incredible. Can you talk to me a little bit how your personal life and how your real life shapes the wrestler that you are portraying for All Elite Wrestling and the evolution of that character since you've signed with AEW?
I think that what you see is what you get. Pretty much, like there's not a whole lot of a difference of Chris backstage to Chris on screen, if that makes sense. I mean, it's different when you're in a wrestling match and, you know, you have to focus on winning, and you can't exactly just be a goofball the entire time, because I learned that doesn't really get me things like the title. I had to learn the hard way by always constantly losing the big one, always losing tournaments and all that stuff. So I feel like I have to prove that there is a little bit of a switch. And I know, like there's times like when I'm boxing as well, I'll go to boxing class. Like I know that like once I get into it, like I just get mad, but not at other people, but at myself if I'm not doing well. And that's kind of what it's like in wrestling and when I'm in a match, where it's like, why aren't I doing the best right now? I need to get that back. I need to just put it all out there. I need to try and win. And it's very, I don't know. I always try and be my truest self, and I'm a very awkward person. A lot of the times you can ask so many people that I'm awkward. I'm a goofy person. But I always like to try and bring like a positive energy as much as I can, because I don't like people being sad. I don't like me being sad. I don't like people being angry. I don't like fighting. I don't like drama. I just want people to have a good time and do what they love collectively as a group.
All right, I'm glad you said all that, because I'm also an awkward person, and I have this weird question that I want to ask, and it's when you're hanging with the best friends, I have a theory that Sue's minivan smells like popcorn, and so I'm just curious, does it smell like popcorn?
I wish it did. I love popcorn. I've only been in Sue's van like once or twice. I haven't gotten the luxury of getting driven to the ring in it, like, you know, Trent does, because that's his mom. So fair. But I was in it once and it did not smell like popcorn, but I wish it did. I love popcorn.
Chris
Sometimes
Statlander.
I'll just go to the movies just for popcorn.
Yes, not Chris. I've done worse. I don't go to the movies. I will stop at a movie theater, go in, buy popcorn, and then take it home. Am I a psychopath?
I mean, I always go and get a movie, or the movie theater that I go to, you have to like scan your movie ticket before like you get in the door, you scan your movie ticket and then you go to the concessions and whatnot. So I have to see a movie, but like I'll just be like, I'm craving popcorn, let's go to the movies, or I'll just go by myself.
I feel so much better about my decision making now.
He's so excited.
I really do.
Yeah.
I really do. I've been judged for that so many times, and I'm tired of it. Now I'm on Team Statlander.
All right, I apologize. Okay, I'm sorry for judging you for that.
No need. We're talking to Chris Statlander from All Elite Wrestling, as All Elite Wrestling presenting Saturday Night Collision tomorrow night at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena. Chris, I wanted to talk to you also about this company, about AEW. I have been an AEW fan. I was in Jacksonville when this company launched. Was at the first Fight for the Fallen. I thought it was great, and I've watched the roster grow. But the thing that I've loved, and we actually earlier this week talked with Darby Allin, and I asked him the same question. I think the thing that makes me love AEW the most is that as a fan, we can tell that you guys have say over what's going to happen. The wrestlers have control over characters and storylines. It feels like a company that is as driven by the wrestlers as it is creative behind the scenes. A, do you feel like that is the case in AEW? And B, how important is it for you as a performer to have at least some say in the storylines that you were a part of?
I say it's true on different levels for different people. Like, someone who's just getting brought in is not going to have the same power that someone who's been wrestling for 30 years has. And, there's a respect level, of course, with, you've been doing this forever. You obviously know what works, know what works for you. And I do think it's important that people do get a say in what they do or don't do, because you want to make sure that you're comfortable with what you're about to put out on live television in front of thousands and hundreds and thousands of people. And you want to make sure that you're okay portraying yourself in certain ways and that you're also just capable of doing it. So I do think it's important to get a say. I do think we do have a little bit more of a luxury of what we do or don't do, but we do have someone who runs the show and they get the final say at the end of the day. And that's also important that we have someone who does make those final decisions, because if everyone was just doing whatever they want, we'd have a 24-hour long show.
For the record, I'm in for that. I think it's a great idea.
I mean, we would, us wrestlers would probably be a little bit tired. But I do think it's important that there is some authority with a final decision, a final say. But I do think it is also important that we get to be like, hey, I don't think I'm capable of doing that. Maybe someone else gets that position. Or, hey, I think these people deserve this spot because I've been doing so much and they need to defend their title more often. I think there's a good balance. And when you have good people in those spots, like good people that want the best for the company and not just want selfish decisions, I think it's good that we have that balance of we get a little bit of our own say and, someone would be like, hey, that makes sense. Let's go for it.
I almost got I almost forgot that. Yeah,
the microphones do work better when they're on.
They do. They absolutely do. I caught myself though. All right, so we've had the pleasure of interviewing a ton of professional wrestlers. It's one of the coolest parts about this show and this station. Our boss loves wrestling too. So I mean, that's really. And every time we have a wrestler on, I've been meaning to ask, and I always forget. How much say do you have in your entrance music?
Pretty much 100%. I spoke with Mikey Ruckus. He's the one who did my music, both of my entrance musics, and I gave him direction in what I did or what I used on the independent scene and what kind of like vibe I was looking for with AEW. And when we switched from the alien portrayal to what I'm doing now, I told him, hey, I think I should get new entrance music. And then we worked on it together. And we just came up with stuff that I liked, and we found something that that worked, that we thought worked for me. I had some of my peers, such as best friends, listen to it. They all liked it. So yeah, it's my music. So I don't know if that's the same for everybody, but early on, I think he would reach out to us and we'd come up with something quick. And I think he's doing a great job. I'm a big fan.
I love it.
Yeah, Rob and I as musicians, what a job that would be to be able to do. Okay.
Well, and I think that's real interesting because the presentation of All Elite Wrestling has been so good. I think we all caught on. In fact, me and our buddy Joe in the chat over here were texting back and forth the other night when Rob Van Dam made his appearance and he had his old ECW music. And then the mashup that Adam Cole and MJF had when they went for the tags in the quarters the other night, that mashup between their two songs was great. Back when he wasn't a terrible person and Jungle Boy was coming out to some OG music that Tony got the license for. To me, all of those things make a presentation for a show that isn't just captivating when somebody's holding a microphone in the ring or two guys or two gals are getting it, but there's always these little things that keep you turning back and checking in for what's happening. And to me anyway, Chris Statlander, like that is part of what I think has made All Elite Wrestling so captivating and on the upward trajectory that it still feels, I feel like it's on.
Yeah, I think with a lot of like the licensed musics, I think Tony likes to do that as a surprise. He'll kind of sprinkle that in there sometimes without people knowing that he does that, because that's such a huge ask of us to be like, hey, spend like $1 million. I don't know how much it costs to buy music. Spend $1 million on this song for me, and you know, like that's a very tall ask of someone. But I think that's more Tony just kind of trying to be like, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. I know you use this on the indies, and this is a special surprise for you. I think that's kind of more so at least with the licensing music that is, but with all like the AEW original music, that's I believe that's all Ruckus, and I believe we all pretty much have a say in that. Or yeah.
In football and a lot of other sports, when the players are done, they go back and look at film. Do you ever go back and watch film of your matches to figure out what you could have done better?
Oh, absolutely. I will watch things as soon as I'm done wrestling, or the next day. If it's like if we do a show that's taped, I'll watch it live, and then I'll watch it again like on a separate feed that doesn't have the commercial breaks and whatnot, so I can see all the in between things that I'm doing and making sure that I'm doing things the best that I can. But I always watch all my stuff back, even if I don't want to, even if I'm not feeling great about a performance. I will put it off for a few days, and then I'll be like, I gotta make sure that what I think is going on in my head matches what is happening out there. Or vice versa. Maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, or who knows. But yeah, I will always, I know some people don't like to watch themselves, and it's a very personal preference thing, but I do think that there is a benefit of watching from an outside perspective. I know I've like caught myself doing some weird like arm movements. Like I know I tried and change it, but I noticed that like sometimes when I'll throw a big move or throw someone, and then I stand up and then I go to pick him up, sometimes I'll do like a weird like thing with my arms, like going to grab them, and I am so embarrassed every time I catch myself doing that. So I'm like, okay, look a little bit more like not here, not like I don't know. But that's
Chris,
more yeah.
Chris Statlander, TBS champion with All Elite Wrestling. We got I got one more for you, Chris, and that is this. Is Orange Cassidy as cool as he portrays? Like, is he that cool? Because we all want to be that cool. Is he that cool?
I don't know, man. Everyone's got their own perspective. I think he's pretty cool, but I don't think people know him the way us best friends know each other. He is something else. That is all I will say.
I respect that. I respect that. Chris Statlander is a member of All Elite Wrestling. They will be here tomorrow for Saturday Night Collision. She will be defending that TBS. We got to see it one more time, Chris. Yes! The TBS Championship defended tomorrow. It's going to be a phenomenal match. I cannot wait to see it, Chris. We cannot. First time to get to see you wrestle in person. I am very excited. We wish you the best of luck, and thank you very much for coming to hang out with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. That's the best. Chris Statlander, good luck tomorrow. We'll see you there. Thank you very much. There you go. There you go. All Elite Wrestling megastar Chris Statlander here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. We're back after this. Thank you, man. That was fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Good luck. We'll see you tomorrow night.
All right. Thank you. I can just
Have a
like
good
get
one.
out of here now, right? I'm good.
Yeah, you're good.
All right. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Have a great day.
Goodbye.
Incredible. There was a part of me that's like, don't click goodbye. Just let her. Just
Yeah, I got to go too because I'm nervous talking to people things. So we'll be right back.
during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-873-7171. 800-873-7171. 800-873-7171.
This wasn't how Patrick pictured him.
I can't send Rob anywhere, Steven. Hope you didn't do a thing again, but you probably did.
Steven, you icon. You man amongst men.
Dude, why you do that stuff? We appreciate it, but why you do
Yes.
that?
You don't have to do that, but it's very, very appreciated.
Especially with where I came from.
Oh, big fan.
Oh.
Ooh, and they're warm.
If I touch them all, will you still eat
Yes.
them? Oh, that's too much. That is huge.
Chris, Steven, you legend.
Man,
Oh,
this thing weighs like 5 pounds. Doesn't it? I mean, it's got weight to it. That's his,
It's a hefty cookie. It's a paperweight of a cookie. And it's delicious. Thank you, buddy. You did not have to do that, but it's greatly appreciated. You're awesome.
Speaking of awesome, I enjoyed that interview.
I just tell you,
It always makes me nervous, but
it is sad that
she was more nervous than I was.
She was.
So,
You can tell.
so that made me feel better.
Keegan texted too. He's like, she's so nervous. I was like, yeah. Hello, I can wrestle on TV in front of 250,000 people, but doing this little radio show on stream made her nervous. Fun. That just made me like her more, for the record.
Stop your judging, Keegan.
Keegan, I'll have you know I'm down 10 pounds since the first of last month. FYI, sir.
It would be bad form if a wonderful listener like Steven sent us something and we didn't partake in it.
And for the record, I have had, and this is not exaggerating,
Man, this thing is
literally
heavy.
since Monday of this week, I had nothing but grilled chicken breast, lettuce, and sushi. That's all I've eaten this week.
And hot dogs fresh out the pack.
Nope. Hang on, I'm working on it.
Had to take that last bite, didn't you?
My
Or
guys-
next bite, rather.
My dude Steven sent us some cookies up here. And they are soft, warm, and delicious.
And
By the way-
they weigh like 5 pounds apiece.
Just so we're clear, hashtag team soft cookies. Soft cookies. Bacon and cookies should be soft. I stand on that.
So you're saying if you had a crisp cookie with a good flavor, you'd turn it down?
No. Just
Okay.
like I wouldn't turn down crispy bacon.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if you said, how do you want your cookie? The correct answer is, I want my cookie soft. I want it soft enough that I can hold it and it doesn't fall apart, but that I can just pull it.
These these cookies are
Also,
sturdy.
that was totally just an excuse. to
Yeah,
have another bite of cookie.
these cookies are very sturdy. So I mean, in that aspect, you can hold them up, but they're heavy. I mean, they're really heavy. I know I keep saying that, but it's the amount of weight in those cookies lets you know they're probably going to be delicious.
I'm gonna have for cookie. They're good to do.
And so he's just doing so. By the way,
Cookie.
the Chris Statlander interview, that was great. I'm always nervous about doing interviews, but I really had fun with that and being able to ask some questions that I've never asked anybody before.
Stat was great.
Yeah.
Stat was great. Appreciate that. She was awesome. And again, thanks to everybody at AEW for they are so easy to work with, dude. Like, I literally pop an email off. I popped one off like last Monday. And they're like, yeah, we'll get you. And sure enough, they just send me emails. They're like, hey, tomorrow, can you do 11 o'clock with TBS Women's Champion Chris Statlander? Yeah, we could probably pull that off.
That's a good week for us, you know.
Real good week.
We had Darby Allin on, and then we had Chris Statlander
Yep.
on. I mean, I like.
And by
I
the
like that.
way, may get to do one in person before or after Collision tomorrow night. May, not for sure, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's run through a bunch of stuff since it is Friday.
He's still looking at the cookie, so we're gonna.
I really wanna finish that
we'll probably
cookie,
go
dude.
to break early. I'm
Yeah.
just guessing.
Yeah, I really want to finish that cookie. The Bravos get Max Fried back tonight. He is slated to get the nod on the bump when the Bravos travel to the friendly confines of Wrigley Field to take on the Chicago Cubs tonight. The Braves continue to boast the best record in Major League Baseball. Now they get their best pitcher back to go along with that, which is saying a lot considering Spencer Strider is also on this team and is also very good. And, oh, by the way, an all-star. And Bryce Elder is on this team. Again, also very good and also an all-star. Fried was runner-up for the NL Cy Young last year, but he's made only 5 starts in the big so far this year. The last one all the way back on May 5th. He dealt with a strained left forearm that sent him to the IL for about 3 months. He has thrown 4 rehab appearances in the minors, and he said that it feels like it's opening day all over again when he gets the nod tonight. Brian Snicker said, quote, "It's awesome. I can't wait to get him out there." Fried now joins Strider and Bryce Elder as the probably number 1 in the rotation once they can reset the rotation. Of course, this is a very good when they're on front 3. Check this out. Spencer Strider is 12-3. Bryce Elder is 8-2. That's a real good starting 2. And now you add Max Fried. You're dealing with the injuries to Max Fried. Kyle Wright, Ian Anderson is done for the year as well. Wright led the majors with 21 wins last season, but he's only got 5 starts this year because of Wright's shoulder injuries. He has started throwing off the bump, but the best case scenario best case is that he is available for the final month of the regular season, maybe just available for the playoffs. We will find out. So you get Fried, Strider, Elder, and Charlie Morton. Now, Morton is 10-9, but I'll also tell you that Charlie Morton's numbers don't represent him. He has been left out to dry with offenses that did not get it going, particularly coming out of the All-Star break where the Braves dropped, I think 3 out of the first 4 series back out of the All-Star break. So this is big, man. This is big. If the Braves can keep Max Fried healthy, this is a massive, massive get back. Lonzo, are you a fan of sports fans trolling other people?
You mean other fans or players?
I mean, other fans and, I don't know, hypothetically for no particular reason at all, head coaches of other teams?
If it's adult on adult trolling,
you're in.
I'm okay with it.
I think that's fair. Well, the University of Maryland's head football coach is a cat by the name of Mike Locksley. Now, the Gamecocks and their fans have kind of an interesting relationship.
You mean like Robin of?
Yes.
Locksley? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
They have kind of an interesting relationship with Mike Locksley and the University of Maryland because if you go back not too long ago, leading up to the 2022 recruiting cycle, there was a top linebacker by the name of Jayshawn Barham. Jayshawn Barham announced his intent to sign with the University of South Carolina. It was an absolute coup for Shane Beamer. They grabbed the nation's top linebacker. That was going to be a massive addition. He had been committed to the Gamecocks for a hot minute. And then, Lonzo, on National Signing Day, Jayshawn Barham walked out to the podium and he signed with the University of Maryland. And, oh, God, it got ugly. It got ugly real quick. There was a rumor out there that Shane Beamer, in fact, if I recall correctly, he said that he had received a call from someone in Maryland who said, "Hey, Shane, I got a lot of respect for you, so I'm just letting you know before he does it that this kid is flipping on you and he's signing with Maryland tomorrow." And then after that happened, Maryland's social media team posted a video of the recruit and his mom talking with Locksley after the signing. And in the clip, Jayshawn Barham's mom said, "Go Terps. We liked that better than go Cox." And that video went bananas on the internet. And of course, there were conspiracy theories. There were all these different discussions. Beamer came out and said he committed on Saturday. About 10 minutes later, I got a phone call from somebody in the know up there and said, just so you know, it's all part of the plan. He's going to flip on Wednesday and go to Maryland. So I can't sit here and say that I was shocked. Well, the Gamecocks lost that battle. But since then, it's almost like Shane has been to some degree targeting the DMV area, right? The DC, Maryland Valley area, because they have grabbed a couple of top-notch prospects from the Terps' backyard. Nicholas Harbor came out of there, the 5-star freak athlete, a 6'5", 230-pound track star of a running back. And they went on to grab Dylan Stewart a few days ago. Dylan Stewart is a 5-star stud defensive end that was also being recruited by Ohio State, right? Now, which is really, really interesting, aside from the fact that Shane Beamer has pretty much turned the DMV area into a pipeline of recruits down to South Carolina, now the Gamecock fans have decided, oh yeah, funny joke, Maryland social media team. Funny joke. Now it's our turn. And it's been great. One fan decided to take it to a higher level after getting Nicholas Harbor, after getting the signing of the new recruit, the defensive end, to come down in Dylan Stewart. A South Carolina fan sent a dozen donuts to the head coach of the University of Maryland, sent a dozen donuts up to Mike Locksley with a note attached to it that said, "Thank you for bleeping our head football coach, Shane Beamer, off. Nothing has paid off better than the little punk move you thought you were playing on him 2 years ago. Hopefully, the sweet taste of these miniature pearls of exquisite delicacy will help you overcome the bitter taste of getting your asses stomped continuously in your own backyard." End quote. I like it, Lonzo. I like it. Sent my dude a dozen donuts. Thanks for ticking off Beamer. And also, thanks for all the 4- and 5-star kids in your backyard.
You know, I love all that and everything, but is that really a hotbed for football? I think I'm more concerned about the talent that you're bringing in.
They have pulled a top 10 overall recruit out of that area in back-to-back years now. They got Harbor and they got Harbor and Dylan Stewart, both coming out of that area. Both of those guys are believed by the recruiting services to be program-changing type recruits. So I'd say I'd rather have a foot in that area than not at all at this point, right? I love this.
Hey, you think we could send Shane an email to come over with us next Saturday night and just walk up with us when we get our award?
Oh, sorry. I'm forgetting the best part. The responses from the Maryland fans, like one that said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are still living rent-free in the minds of Gamecock Nation. I really can't wait for the day we play y'all." Maryland. Relax, my dudes.
Yeah, last time we checked, you're still Maryland.
Another Terp supporter said, "South Carolina Gamecock fans are the worst, just nasty." I love it. I love it. I mean, look, if you're gonna own it, if you're gonna own it, just own it, right?
It's Maryland, man. Though, I mean, it's like the thing they say about low hanging fruit and easy. It's Maryland.
It's college football. That's what we do.
Yeah, but it's still
what we do.
It's Maryland. I mean, you know, you going after Rutgers next? I mean, Vanderbilt after that. I mean, what are you doing here?
If Rutgers starts putting up videos after having a garbage move like that take place,
at least when I think of football and toughness, Rutgers sounds tougher than Maryland. Fear the turtle.
They're from Jersey, huh?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
Jersey.
you know, They know a guy. You don't
You got
want
a couple
yeah.
of dudes over here who like crab cakes, and then you got a couple of guys from Jersey. Huh? I feel like you know how that's going. By the way, all right, so I saw this story like a couple of days ago. I had never heard this story before. Did you watch The Sopranos at all?
Bits and pieces.
Okay.
I didn't have HBO during that time
Yeah.
because I couldn't
I
afford
didn't
it.
either. And I not terribly long ago, and it's really more like I watch it every now and then when I think about it kind of thing. But I just started getting into The Sopranos.
And by the way, I didn't skip it because everyone else liked it before someone said, no, I didn't. I didn't have HBO, dude.
I didn't have HBO at the time either.
And when this was out, wasn't this, I mean, the internet was not that big of a
Yeah.
deal as it is now. So
I didn't have HBO
not that I would
either.
say you should pirate anything, but the capabilities of doing such were probably not there when it was out.
Correct. I didn't have it either, so I just started. And again, there's like 4 shows I'm just getting into. I'm just starting Justified, and I'm just starting to get into The Sopranos. And I started watching the Sopranos a little bit, and then like you do, especially when the TV show's old, as you watch episodes, I go back and I read stuff about the production and who was doing what at what time, and I found this story that the one of the showrunners for The Sopranos in its prime told about James Gandolfini, who played Tony Soprano. He passed away a number of years ago. And he said that James Gandolfini told him, Lonzo, that there was a day he was at home and his phone rang at like midnight, right? And he's like, that's weird, because he's like, only his family has his phone number. Like his home phone is it's his home phone for his family. He said, my phone rang like middle of the night, and I answered the phone. Now, Gandolfini didn't do the voice, but I will. Gandolfini said, I answered the phone, and I said, hello. And a voice on the other end said, hey. Gandolfini said, who's this? And the voice said, don't worry about it. We're just calling to let you know we love the show, and we think you're doing a great job. But we do got to say one thing to you. Gandolfini was like, okay. And the voice on the other end went, just remember, a Don never wears shorts. Click. Because in the first handful of episodes, Gandolfini's character is like wearing khaki shorts and Bermuda shorts while he's doing all his mafia stuff. And so we got a phone call at 12 in the morning that said, we love what you're doing. We love the show. Keep up the good work. But don't forget, a Don never wears shorts. Click. That's incredible. The mafia got James Gandolfini's private home phone number, called him to say good job, but don't wear shorts on TV, because a Don always dresses like a Don.
I wonder,
loved
did he wear shorts going forward any?
I don't know, because I'm only like 4 or 5 episodes in, and I don't know like where in the Sopranos timeline that phone call took place. But come on, dude. If you're Gandolfini, the minute you hear a Don never wears shorts, click. I am not even hanging the phone up. I'm hitting the button. I'm calling the costume developer for the show, and I'm like, I don't ever want to see a pair of shorts on stage again. You understand? I never want to see shorts on the set. James, why are you so mad? I'm not mad, but I never want to see a pair of shorts again.
Yeah, but do you do that out of fear, or do you do that because
what do you mean? It's the mafia.
or do you do it because you want to be accurate? They already give him a seal of approval. That means he's doing things right, except for that one little
Look,
thing. So
it's one thing when you get the call and they go, "Hey, you're doing a good job, but don't wear shorts. It makes us look bad."
that's like when the
And
boss
then you wear
boss
shorts again.
it's like when the boss has us in the office and he tells us all the good things we're doing, but we know
Right.
that at the end of it, there's going to be something
There's
that
gonna
we
be one
did
thing.
wrong.
And it's
Yeah.
like you can take all the praise in the world, but like if he calls you down and he goes, "Hey, you're doing a good job. The show sounds good. I like the content. You're putting out good stuff. And also don't ever do this again." I mean, if we come down here and we do the same show with the same content and the same effort, and we're kicking ass and we're winning trophies, but we do that thing again, what do you think the one thing we're going to get called back down to the office is for, huh? What do you think he's calling us for? Hey, you're doing everything I told you to do right. But it's unfortunate you did the one thing I told you not to do. You wore shorts. That's why I work in radio. We can wear shorts all the time. All the time.
And at least one of us is right now. I don't know if you are or not, but I.
Texas said, when's the last time Marilyn was relevant? That's what's nasty. Yeah, I don't know, 95?
Exactly. The thing is, it's like picking on a little kid. I mean, it's Maryland. I mean, come on.
Texas said, if Clemson joins the Big Ten, their nearest road game would be 2,000 miles away. Let me make abundantly clear to you that they don't care about that.
Yeah, for the most part, I'm guessing, and that teams don't travel by bus anymore.
Yeah.
So why does that matter?
Yeah, they don't care about that
How-
anymore.
Since I don't fly and I don't know, but 2,000 miles in an airplane, how long does that take? Like a half
2
hour?
hours.
Okay. Well,
You can. I think you can fly. Let's see.
it takes me 10 hours to go back home to Ohio. So you're trying to buy car. So you're trying to say that you can't get there in like 45 minutes in
You
a plane.
can fly nonstop. You can fly from LA to New York in 5.5 hours.
Yeah, but he said nearest.
the whole
They're
country.
saying nearest.
I understand. What I'm saying is to fly from LA to New York City is 5.5 hours. That means that there's no two further points
I got you. Yeah, I see
in
what
the
you're
U.S.
saying. Yes.
The longest plane ride you can do. In fact, let's do this just because I'm curious. Let's do Miami to I don't know, Seattle flight time. I can't think of two further apart points, right? Portland in the Pacific Northwest, Miami in the far southeastest of the Southeast. Those two, that flight's 6.5 hours. 6.5 hours. You can fly literally the furthest two cities away in the country. They don't care about that anymore, right? They don't care about that.
Yeah, back in the day, it would have mattered if you had to take a train or a bus or something, but planes are so fast now. Yeah, I mean.
Texture said, what's that do for travel costs for the entire Clemson athletic department? What does that do? What it does is, if you join the Big Ten, it ups the amount of money coming into your program every year by about, I don't know, $50 million.
All it means is you, dear IPTAY member, will have to fork out a little bit
Not
more.
even. Not even. Let's put all the, what do you think the travel cost is, right? Because the hotels and all that stay in the same. That's all staying the same price. All you got to change is the amount of times and the length of planes you got to charter. The Big Ten, hypothetically, paying you another, I don't know, $50 million a year over the ACC 3 years from now. Do you not think that $50 million would cover up the cost of them planes?
By the way, the mob voice keeps
I
creeping
know,
in.
I
It
saw
keeps
it.
creeping in.
Stop it. That's why I said them their planes at the end. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll ask what the X is going on, and then we'll call it a day. It's Rob Lonzo and you on the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate.
It's like, will you stop talking so we can eat the rest of our cookie? What are you doing?
That's why we went to break earlier.
We didn't go to break early. We went to break late.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
It's 43 and some change.
That's late. This just ruined my lunch.
This show now is my lunch.
Rob will. I have a show to do. If I didn't have a show to do, I'd be there. But I can't miss my show 2 weeks in a row. I have sponsors and stuff, you know.
Luke, I will be at AEW tomorrow. I'll be down on the floor, but knowing me, I'll also be walking frequently between the floor seats and the bar. So please come find me. I'll look like
and
this.
the bathroom.
We are tailgating for like an hour and a half. Oh, and if you get there early,
Thanks, Keegan.
kiss ass.
How does it benefit him to be
I'm
nice?
just kidding.
You know, I ain't another one, are you? Dude,
And the other one's yours.
thank you.
There's 4.
I know.
Luke, I will be there probably about 4:35, 4:40 in the main parking lot with Jack and Joey B tailgating. So come by early, man. Come by the tailgate.
Staples has big savings on everything you need for back to school or stocking up the office. Save on signs, banners, and posters from Staples Print and Marketing Services.
save on everything you need for travel, like luggage, tech, and travel-size personal items. Plus, save on all your school essentials, from notebooks to
If Rob gets into it with a wrestler, I will talk. I will absolutely be heckling, 100%.
He only heckles the wrestlers that I like, though.
Oh, I heckle the wrestlers I don't like. It just happens that very frequently it is the ones you do.
This is one of those things that this is the first time this has ever happened, Keegan. So I see why he wants to be there for sure and has to miss some other things.
We are floor, Keegan. We are floor. Either 2 or 3 rows behind where the Spanish announce table would be if they had one.
So just because I'm not going doesn't mean I won't watch it. Probably watch it on Sunday at some point.
When they do the pulled away hard cam shot, you'll be able to see us.
I was hoping you would be behind the announce team, but you can't because they're up on the. Yeah. So I guess they would have to build that every time to have them up, wouldn't they? I'd be interested to see how they do that.
What, the announce table?
Yeah, because they have them.
Don't they have it? Don't they? Well, I don't know.
It's up by the ramp.
Yeah.
So when they build the ramp and all that stuff, they would have to build that part into it. That's just, I find that part kind of cool. No, it's free on TV, on TBS. TBS, yeah. Probably gonna have a stomach ache the rest of the day, but it was worth it.
It was a good
It was a really good cookie. Yeah, by the way, Trey, I didn't respond back to you about something, and I appreciate it. Thank you. It's not that I'm trying to avoid you or anything. It's just, as I learned from training camp, my leg is really not in the kind of shape that it needs to be in to do the walking I'd have to do. I can't get into the doctor for a couple more weeks, so. Which also means I'm probably not going to Dragon Con. All right, it is time for me to ask Rob, what the X is going on? I think he just
really
likes.
wish the show would stop interrupting my cookies.
I think he just likes me having to word it that way. I could have made the music longer, but you know.
That's fine. That's great.
I thought it was long enough. All right, the first thing that is Xing yo is DeMarcus Ware.
So DeMarcus Ware last night at the Hall of Fame game, I did not see it, but I guess he sang the national anthem.
He did.
As a tribute to Demaryius Thomas, who was he the one that passed away? I think so. Either way.
Thanks, Luke. I appreciate that.
Luke on the stream just said that he would get his dad to let Lonzo borrow his rascal scooter to get around some of the events that Lonzo's worried about going to.
I'm not having a leg problem, you know. I'm not going to complain about it, but I'm also not going to put myself in a position to make it worse. But that was funny.
Out
And
of curiosity, is this thing trending by chance?
I can't see what it is,
All right.
but
Then I'm gonna make it.
we don't
trend
we
right
don't
now.
do trends anymore. We do X's, yeah.
Sorry, is that Xing? Today is the 30th anniversary of the brawl between Nolan Ryan and Robin Ventura. You remember the one where Ventura took a fastball behind the back, charged at Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan put him in a headlock and clobbered him through a few spicy meatballs right at his nose before they got split up.
You're not about to throw up, are you? Because I mean,
No,
you
I
whip
just-
those down. I can.
Dude, I gotta tell you,
Yeah, you're.
those some thick ass cookies, dog.
Yeah, I'm a
That's
little.
just hanging out.
I'm
now.
a little concerned.
Ah.
You just let it. You
I'm
wait.
glad I don't have a lot to do after the show today because I'm ready to take a nap now. That's a good cookie.
I remember that fight, even though I'm not a big baseball fan. I absolutely
I don't think
remember
it
that fight because it was a good fight.
Oh yeah.
Not the slap fest you see in the NBA or some of the things you see in baseball. Now the fights in baseball, there's some dudes out there who know how to fight, and you can tell those are the guys who are like, "Come on, let's do this."
Right. Nolan Ryan wasn't scared of a damn thing. He beat Robin Ventura's backside. Hey, here's a fun thing. Somebody just went and compiled WWE wrestlers with the most losses in WWE history. Who do you think's number one? I will tell you that they are still an active wrestler, and I will tell you they're a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Edge.
No. The Miz.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Who's second? Non-active Hall of Famer. Already in Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I was going to say Kane. I was going to say it
Yep.
before you gave me the hint.
Brooklyn Brawler is third. Dolph Ziggler 4. Randy Orton 5. Big Show 6. Cody Rhodes 7th. Sheamus 8th. Kofi Kingston 9. Natalya 10. Jack Swagger, Triple H, Chris Jericho, Heath Slater, and Matt Hardy round out the top 15.
It's a good list, though. It really is. Probably the worst wrestler on there is the Brawler, but you know.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. The next thing it's X and Yo is Chris Jones.
Mr. Jones? Why is he trending?
Because he still hasn't signed yet.
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. Yannick Ngozku signed, by the way. He signed with, it looks like,
But Chris Jones still hasn't signed yet. And I didn't put it up there because it's I'm looking at it right there on my X. All right, the last thing is trending, and it just popped up there, and I didn't click on it, but you know we don't get to say this name very often. Matt Rule is trending.
Matt Rule is trending. I'm assuming that to some degree it's because Nebraska people keep seeing Matt Rule popping up in weird places around Nebraska and taking pictures with him.
He's not like being intimate with a shark or anything, right? I mean,
that was McAway. That was definitely Jim McAway.
It was him for sure. Yeah,
I'm standing by that forever. That was definitely Jim McAway. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thanks for being here all week. We very much appreciate it. We will be back on Monday. We'll give you a full breakdown of the weekend. If you are all in for All Elite Wrestling Saturday Night Collision at the Well, come by and see me. Come say hi. I'd love to see you. Triumph game on Saturday night, Star Wars night. Go see that. We'll be back here Monday to do it all over again, but better.
Upstate Pulse.
Oh, and the Upstate Pulse, 7 to 9 on our sister station, WRD, hosted by the great one Lonzo and an Irish guy who's amazing to listen to. Back on Monday on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate. Later. Yeah. Texture says Lonzo sounds triple X when he says X. That's true.
So
that's true.
By design, duh.
Yeah.
How else can you say X without it sounding that way? I just don't. Yeah, it's.
Cool.
I don't know how you can eat two in a row. I really don't.
With my hands.
Well, obviously, and your mouth, and you know, your stomach, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Steven, thank you again, buddy.
Thanks, Steven.
Very much appreciated. Everybody else? Wait a minute.
What?
The last bite was just a chocolate chip this big. Hang on. I'm coming back.
In theory, and yeah, he's coming back. He says.
All right, we're good. Thank you guys.
I was
very
say
much.
we're not on the air. I don't have to cover for you now. You can pause as long as you want.
Well, have a good weekend. See some of y'all at AEW.
If he survives the 2 cookies, I mean, you know.
Well, I'm going to take a nap. That is now an established fact. We'll see y'all Monday. Have a good one. Bye.
You ain't going.